So everybody enjoyed the first session, how to introduce and all these. Next we are going to the next tutorial class with inventory part 1. So I invite Dr. Devrat Dash to deliver the lecture of design and structure of the CTO guide wires. Dr. Dash.
Good afternoon, and I must thank Ganesh and the whole IJCTO team for inviting me. And it's an engineering topic by a medical person. It may induce hypnosis and sedation. So the topic is design and structure of guide wires in CTO cases. The guide, as all of us know, the guide wires are important to CTO procedures. New design have enhanced wire performance in PCI, and these properties enable task-specific approach like directed penetration, crossing, traversing microchannels, knuckling re-entry and externalization. The guide wire is an assembly of shaft. As you can see, this is core, teeth, jacket and footing components. Central core is the inner part of the guide wire. It is longest and stiffest portion. It tapers distally to a variable extent. The core material determines stiff load, flexibility, steerability, trackability and support. The smaller the diameter, the better is the flexibility, and larger the diameter, increase the support and torqueability. The core material contains are stainless steel and retinol. The high tensile stainless steel is more durable than regular one, and it retains safe. It provides good support, push, torque and less flexibility. However, it is susceptible to kinking. The nitinol, this is a super alloy designed for kink resistance and guide wear. It has got excellent flexibility and steering, but at the cost of torqueability, and the durable nature may help while navigating through the tortuosity. So what the core material should have? It must transmit longitudinal and rotational forces from shaft to the teeth. It must also track and conform to the tortuosity inherent in guide, catheter and arteries. To meet these competing demands, the core is designed to be more flexible than the shaft through reduction in diameter or by use of more flexible alloys. So the taper, it impacts tracking, this is the taper, and degree of support. The tapered component reduces wire stiffness gradually towards the teeth. The core may end proximal to the teeth, maximizing the flexibility, or extend to teeth to augment the torqueability or teeth load. As all of us know, the long taper offers better torque but less support. However, the short tapers provide better support but tend to collapse. The distal tip, it is a flexible radio part, consists of spring coil extending from the distal part of the central core to the distal tip weld. It integrates the core barrel, both one piece core and riven in two pieces where spring coil, it is a variable radio opaque length located at the terminal end, that is 1 to 25 centimeter. Distal tip weld is the compact cap forming the two distal end of the wire. This tie is of two types. This is core to tip. Here the tapered core reaches the distal tip weld, and it helps in better force transmission, greater pushability, tactile response and precise steering. Another design is sapping ribbon. Here, as you can see, the core falls, it ends here, it falls short of the distal tip. So this is more flexible and it helps in shear retention. The core to tip design that combined high tip load with a reduced diameter creates wire with a tip pressure that is higher for any given stiffness. The tip style, the conventional wires are typically 0.014 inches in outer diameter. In more dedicated wires, tapering of the tip facilitates penetration. The penetrating power is tip load upon tip area. The spring coils affect support, trackability, visibility, impact dimension of the wire provide tactile feedback. The covers are polymers, provide lubricity, helps in smooth tracking through tortuosity. The coating, hydrophilic coating, clears a slippery gel-like surface. Wire becomes more lubricious for better navigation but has less tactile feedback. However, hydrophobic coating creates a wax-like surface. The tactile feedback is better when trackability is less. This is silicone and Teflon. Some types hybrid coating is there like Conquest Pro, where the tip is hydrophobic for better tactile feedback and rest of the body is hydrophilic for smooth device delivery. As you can see this picture, the polymeric wire, it slips to the south branch, but the hydrophobic wire goes into the true lumen, avoiding the side branch. As you can see, the lubricity is highest with polymer with hydrophilic coating. As the coating decreases, when it becomes hydrophobic, the lubricity is lowest, but then tactile feedback is more. What are the metrics? These are the metrics of guide wire torqueability. The ability of a rotating element to overcome a turning resistance is called torqueability. We should have 1:1 steering. The trackability is wire's ability to follow the tip down an artery, less stiff and floppy wires navigates up bend easier. What is tactile feedback? It's the resistance and torque or wire advancement occurring at the tip. And tip load is the force needed to buckle the tip of a wire when forced against a standard surface is varies between 0.5 to 15 gram. Support is a measure of guide wire's resistance to a bending force. So all of these things we must know while deciding a wire. This wire is a very important one. It has got a composite core technology that augments support, full hydrophilic coating that is enhancing trackability, stainless steel high tension core enhances durability, the jointless spring poles, and it is easy to access the tortuosity. These are the types: cyan blue, T-plot 0.5, this is a hybrid coating, cyan T-plot 0.7, the full hydrophilic coating, cyan black, T-plot 0.8, polymer plus hydrophilic slip core. The composite core is one where the rope coil is surrounded by spring coil, the same as cyan family. It has got more torqueability and tip durability. The Fielder XT series, the one-piece core, it supports the entire guide wire from proximal to the distal part, and it has a tapered tip of 0.009 inch that facilitates trackability in tortuous vessels, sometimes in septal collaterals with positive effect. It is a flat core tip, and some of them have smooth tapered core that enhance trackability. It's a Fielder XT. So polymer sleeve, then XTR tip load is little less, 0.6. XTR there is 1. And the Fielder XT is useful in CTO with occluded stump. The first were an anti-grade where there is a CTO stump and you can visualize micro channel. The XTR is a low profile, it has got flexible tip and this lubricious polymer, it helps in collateral tracking. Whereas XTA, the higher tip load and increased push force, helps in penetration, that is anti-grade. Another important one is Show 3, that is very flexible, tip load is 0.3, but it has enough support. The hydrophilic tip favors rapid steering and epicardial collateral channel. When the collateral is bumped like what Dr. P.K. Goel showed you, there you can use Show 3, it's a very good wire. So Gaia, this has revolutionized our integrated CTO techniques. These wires are very important. The entry of the CTO is facilitated by microcone tip and deflection control is by flexible and 1 millimeter preset tip. The enhanced torque transmission broadens the possibility of intentional manipulation. Those so three components: entry, deflection control, and intentional manipulation. The basic structure of Gaia This first tip load is 1.7, Gaia 2 tip load 3.5, and Gaia third 4.5. The long hydrophilic coating helps in smooth crossability within the microcatheter. As you can see, the microcone tip structure, it helps in better penetration as compared to the conventional wires. The difference in torque response, if the black it outlines the ideal torque, which wire is reaching the ideal wire towards ideality, that is Gaia 3 and Gaia series, basically Gaia 3 is 2 and first. So how to manipulate Gaia? We should not deflect too much and we should not push too much, otherwise we may enter into subintima. So we should have intentional control to stay in 2 lumen. This Miracle series is replaced by Gaia series these days because of the improvement in technique, that is microtone composite core. So the Miracle earlier used to be very good wire for intimal plaque tracking. This has got a smooth trackability, excellent tip shapeability and retention. The Conquest series, this has got hydrophobic coating, only Conquest, and tapered one, but then Conquest Pro is hybrid. As I said earlier, the tip is hydrophobic for better tactile feedback, and the body is hydrophilic for better navigation. The tip tapers to 0.009 inch and the tip load is 9 and 12. Another technology, that is Samurai by Boston and Scientific. The new generation one, the very good stiff strength, tip flexibility and reduced whipping, easy to save and atraumatic tip, inner coil technology, 1:1 torqueability. So this is fighter it is like filter wire, helps in knuckling. So tapered tape, hydrophilic plus polymeric coating, and it is an ideal prolapse wire, got moderate rail support. The Hornet family, the new generation of penetration wire, the lowest tip profile on the market, Hornet 14, the highest tip load on the market and highest penetration force. Plasma wire, this is the next generation, 2 radio frequency wire. So helps in ablation of the proximal fibrous calf, recanalization of CTO exit, antegrade re-entry and retrograde re-entry. We have no experience. Maybe you will be hearing these talks by our Japanese colleagues. Now the directed use of the wire, the microchannel technique, we can have filter FC, filter XT, XTA. These are the low tip wire. So what should determine collateral channel crossing? It demands combination of the longitudinal flexibility and moderate rotational stiffness and lubricious surface. Tip load should be low, atraumatic with coating. So collateral crossings wires are filter XT, XTR, SUO, cyan, cyan black. The knuckling, when sufficient, the wire should be sufficiently lubricious to move through the subintimal space, and it should have good core stiffness to translate longitudinal force without buckling. The Pilot 200, Fielder XT and the recently Fighter. So I am not going to describe in depth. This is Fighter, tapered tip plus polymer jacket. The new one, new knuckling band. For directed penetration, there should be greater stiffness and longitudinal and rotational access, like Conquest Pro, Miracle 12, Hornet 10 and 40, progressive 40-80. Tips should be progressively, high, progressive transitional rigidity. So I want to cut short. The 4th generation wires are Halbert and Gladius for better penetration. My final comment. We have so many guide wires with variable characters and specifications. Improper choice of guide wires may not prolong the procedure but also compromise its success. Know the basic properties and technical background of some guide wire and be familiar by hand and mind with at least half a dozen of them. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Dr. Dash, all the way coming from Dubai for this excellent lecture.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Now,
so much for
we go
your
to the next lecture by optimal guideware selection strategy for a given anatomy by my Japanese colleague Wataru Nagamotsu. I know the success is on the guideware, 85% of the failure is on the guideware class, so it's very important talk. Thank you.
Thank you for waiting. Okay, let's start my presentation. I have the time, 15 minutes. Okay. And so my title is Optimal Guide Warrior Selection Strategy for Given Anatomy. Okay, I have the question for you personally that as I prepared the case. Which warrior should be selected? So this is the IJCTO, and this is the angiogram for the guiding. Okay, which warrior best? And the Conquest Pro, or the Gaia First, or the XTR. Okay, this time we can see the micro channel in the CTO region. So we can see the micro channel, so there definitely we will choose the XTR wire for purchase this is like a very tiny channel. Okay, and this actually in this case the success is by using the XTR. And so I showed another case, a little bit and difficult question. This is the IJCTO2, but another case. And so this time I performed the bidirectional injection simultaneously, and we can see the lesion from here to here. Okay, which way is best as first wire? Yeah, very difficult question, and usually bother me this like situation. But we have the data, so might be the very famous data, the IJCTO square seat. And the original, this paper title is Predicting Successful Guide Wire Crossing Through Chronic Total Occlusion of Native Coronal Lesion Within 30 minutes. This is the original title. And this IJCTO score and about the constructed by the 5 issues. One is the entry shape, and classification, and the bending angle, and the occlusion length, and the entry or not. Okay, and the IJCTO score as a difficulty grading and time assessment tool, a very nice tool. But not included, please attention, not included distal cap information and the collateral information. And there's actually the least group of difficulty and the final procedure success rate is like this. And we can see the tendency, the ZT score is higher, and we can see the lesser the success rate like this. And we need more the time for the crossing guide wire. And actually, this data collected April 2006 to the November 2007. This error is retrograde PCI was not common, and even if in Japan. And so this IJCTO score don't include the channel information I already mentioned about this the previous slide. So this IJCTO score is very suitable for the difficulty grading of antegrade procedure. And we have another very nice data and for the selecting guide wire. And Japanese multi-center registered data with revascularization for chronic total occlusion. And this time, so now we continue this collecting data, but I checked the data for 1 year, 2014. And so we collect the data, and so this study title is retrograde, but include antegrade patient procedure. So anyways, we collect the data about 1,000, and we classified these like groups. And one is antegrade, another one is retrograde, and another one is the combined groups. And antegrade is the antegrade approach alone, and the retrograde is the retrograde approach alone. And the combined, it means that performed both procedure, antegrade and the retrograde procedure. So this time under antegrade lecture, so that I focus on I want to focus on the antegrade groups. And so these like the CTO cases, so the weight and are classified as using the IJCTO score like this. And this, please look at this graph. This blue line is antegrade category groups. So we can see the tendency, the lower JCTO score, and we can see more higher rate antibody PCR groups. So I will show the procedure outcome. And so we check the final guide wire. And so amazingly, so in the procedure success in antibody cases is 91%. And the success guide wire tip load is very light, quite light. And 44% is soft wire, and then under 1.0 gram pulse. And 27% is intermediate, like this. And we can see the tendency, the more higher JCTO score, and we need more hard guide wires. And so from these data, might be we can see a low JCTO score, a possibility of crossing by soft to intermediate wire, and the high JCTO score case is the aggressive wire escalation we need. And so we check the final guide wire, the all cases, so many. So but gold is XTR, the silver is second, and the bronze is first. And I showed my data, and last year data, 2016, I performed 92 cases, and included the attempt cases, there are 36 cases, about 39%. And I performed antibody PCR procedure is 70%, and the letter grade is 30%. So that in the last year, I'm very happy year for me. And antibody case is all cases success, 100%. And I failed 4 cases, and in the letter grade cases. So anyway, and I checked the guide wires. And I performed single guide wire technique, 54 cases, and the parallel guide wire technique, 10 cases. And we can see the except for the XDR, so that we can see the microchannel is, but except for the using XDR guide wire cases, and so amazingly the guide wire is the ratio is using ratio is 55%, and of single wire technique. And the parallel wire technique, we can see the tendency more harder wire we need compared with the single wire technique. And they're amazing, the 60% of the guide wire of the parallel wire cases, and so very high ratio than using guide wires. Okay, and go back to the previous question. And which guide wire is best as first wire? So this case is JCTO score is 1. So very low JCTO score. So there's no microchannel. So this time we should choose the intermediate wire as first wire. And this region is a very quite low JCTO score. So possibility of crossing by intermediate wire. So actually I choose arithmetic pro 3, UB3, and like a miracle 3 intermediate wire, and get advanced region, very good close to the region. And I see the expert, and finally this intermediate wire passed through the CTO region. Okay, and when we need the Gaia family, and so I showed another case. This is the CTO, and this guide wire is the insertion to the septal branch, and for checking the IVAS, and for checking the IVAS entry. And so actually in this case, the JCTO score is 3. Okay. And from this aerial view, it seems like overlap to the distal part, this guide wire. But from the lateral view, and it looks like dislocated. Okay, so this time, and we need a Gaia family. That's why we need our intentional control. So anyway, so this case, firstly I use the intermediate wire, and after that, and I change to the Gaia second wire. So very easy way to manipulate using Gaia second wire. And once take out a little bit and change tip direction. This is the key point. Please be carefully. Please look at this guide wire tip direction, and keep tip direction, and insert wires automatically get advanced distal to lumen. And finally, we can get a very good result. Okay, and why does the wire move in CT region? So might be you know, and due to the deflection effect. And this deflection is not so common word for me. And I read from the dictionary. And one is the action of making something change its direction. So I will explain about the more detail using illustrate. And what is diffraction effect? One is the shaped part of the guide wire got stressed by homogeneous region like this. And the automatically the wire tip direction is changing like this. So this phenomenon is diffraction. And if they're using a stiff wire like a Conquest Pro, you know, a Conquest Pro is a very stiff wire. So stiff guide wire possesses a straight direction force, get advanced to the straight direction automatically. And a stiff guide wire occurs left deflection and sometimes perforation. But on the other hand, a deflection of the flexi guide wire like a Gaia family, and flexi guide wire tend to occur more deflection, and due to very easy to occur the deflection phenomenon. Okay. And that means that good flexibility is a good control. But this advantage, let's think about this advantage of this flexible guide wire. Another say soft guide wire. So this advantage is not possible to enter in hard region. And what weak point is penetration efficacy. And tip structure as a Gaia microcon tip is improved this problem. So even if for example, even if this Gaia second wire tip load is only 3.5 gram force, but and include this con tip information and per inch square is a big quite high power, the penetration power. It's very close to the Conquest Pro like this. Okay, and move to the another issue. When we need wire escalation, so I will show the case. This is IJCTO square 2. This is IJCTO. We can see the CTO region from here to here. So this time, I use the Gaia first wire, and as like I image so the intermediate wire, and get advanced to the distal part and very close to the CTO exit part. But this time I felt some hardness at exit. So after push this Gaia first wire, but dislocated like this. So this time I feel the weakness penetration power compared with CTO region, and I felt difficult to control wire tip due to the hardness of region. So this time we should escalation guide wire. And so I escalated from the Gaia first wire to the Gaia second wire, and like this. This is a layer view. From aerial view, it looks like overlapped, but the aerial view is a little bit dislocated like this. So, and so this time so I take out a little bit and change the direction using aerial view and the insertion, and keep tip direction and the insertion, and automatically get advanced this to the room like this. And finally, we can get very good result. Okay, when we need the wire escalation, weakness penetration, when you feel the weakness penetration power compared with CTO region, or if you feel the uncontrollability due to the hardness of region, please change to the wire, more harder wire. Okay, when we need the wire step down, I will show another case. This is IJCTO score 3 LADCTO. And from this is the electronic view, we can see a little bit and bend around here. And this is the lateral view, like this. So from the angiogram, so I estimate that this CTO root is there, and this as yellow line. So anyway, so this is so firstly I use the intermediate wire, but this is IJCTO score is quite high, so that I intensively the escalation of the wire to the Gaia second wire. But in this Gaia second wire, be difficult to get advanced to the more distal due to the hardness. So I escalation the Conquest Pro 12, and but this Conquest 12 get advanced to the like a perforation like this. And please remember that this is like a very hard wire, and get advanced to the automatically the straight direction. So this time, so I decided to change the step down technique from the convex flow to the second wire, and finally, success. And when we need a wire step down, if you feel the difficult to control wire tip due to the wire hardness, so very difficult to control the deflection control, and due to this wire hardness, please step down the wire. Take home message. Which wire is better? Okay, and we can, if you can see the microchannel, please use the XTR wire. The concept is to purchase this like a very tiny root. In this case is if the low GH score, and please do the intermediate or the guide first wire. And if this case is a high GH score, please let's think about the aggressive wire escalation. And when wire escalation, weakness penetration power compared with CT region. And another issue is that difficult to control wire tip due to the hardness of the region. And when wire step down, and difficult to control wire tip due to the hardness of wire. Thank you for attention.
Thank you, Dr. Nagamasu, for your excellent elaboration of the wire selection. We'll come back. Now, Dr. Kapardi will give his talk on the function of design and function of the different microcatheters.
Good afternoon, everybody. After the first step in the success of CTO phase, that is guide wires, the second step is microcatheters. So I myself confine to the routinely used microcatheters in CTO rather than the newer ones which are not available in India. So as we know, the microcatheter is one of the successful key step in CTO angioplasty, which is a cornerstone, that is support is everything. If you take the guiding catheter without microcatheter, the movement of the wobbling movement of the wire is very wide. But with the help of the microcatheter, the wobbling movements, the range will be lessened so that its penetrating power will be more with the support of the microcatheter. And not only penetration of the cap with the support, it is also useful to exchange the wires frequently after crossing of the lesion with a microcatheter. So, as we know, in CTO angioplasty, the dedicated Arahi microcatheters are available, that is Corsair, Tornus, Caravel, and Crusade. So, before that one, the most important is the Thermo, that is fine cross coronary microcatheter. When we started our CTO angioplasty in 2006, so this is the one which is available at that time, not the other catheters. So, if you take this fine cross microcatheter, this has the properties of almost the design is, it tapers from 2.6 French to 1.8 French from proximal to the distal end, and it has a glide technology of hydrophilic coating, and from the tip to the marker it is 0.7 millimeters, and it is having a stainless steel braid. So with this it has a superior crossability, especially the hydrophilic coating provides the flexibility of the distal segment and superior crossability across the CTO segment, which offers more resistance, and it is tapered at the tip from 2.6 to 1.8 French, which improves its crossability, and it provides the optimal guide wire support, especially the poly tetrafluoroethylene layers, which provides the smooth handling of the guide wire in the microcatheter. So this is the hydrophilic coating, stainless steel braided, and it is available either 130 or 150 centimeters. And compared to the routine conventional microcatheter, the most important fine cross, why it is dedicated useful CTO is because it has a tapered from 2.6 to 1.8 French, which is a dedicated microcatheter in CTO. So this is the lesion which use the microcatheter, that is fine cross. This is a RC segment CTO with some micro channels as well as the soft islands, and as we XTR we have taken with the help of the fine cross support, and once the wire was crossed, we want to exchange by crossing the fine cross, and we took the anchor balloon support and we crossed the CTO lesion with the fine cross, and we exchanged the soft wire and completed the angioplasty. And in evolution, next in the 2006-7, when Tornus was introduced, we use this microcatheter. Actually, this is basically the microcatheter is useful for making expansion in the CTO for crossing of uncrossable lesions by means of balloon. First, initially, this Tornus catheter was started. It is available in two sizes, that is 2.1 French and 2.6 French. And basically, it tapers 2.6 French tapers from 3 to 2.1, and 2.1 tapers from 2.1 to 1.8 French from proximal to the distal end. And most important is it has a stainless steel, 8 wires, stainless steel wires. They are woven of 0.12 millimeters in 2.1 French and 0.18 millimeters wires in 2.6 French sizes. And it has the following features. Because of its more stiffer nature, it enables the guide wires to cross across the CTO lesion. And not only that one, it is useful for exchange after crossing the lesion. And more important is it will create the space in CTO segment so that you can cross with the balloon. Previous uncrossable balloons you can cross once the resistance in the CTO tissue become lessened. And actually this was designed like that. And most important, you can cross by means of counterclockwise torque, and you can withdraw by means of clockwise torque. So this is the calcific fibrous CTO lesion. We have taken the amplage guiding catheter, and we took the Gaia wire, and you see how when balloon is unable to cross across the lesion because of the hard nature along with calcium, and we took the Godzilla support extension catheter, and with that support we took the Tornus and it crossed across that bend with calcific lesion, and ultimately we succeeded the angioplasty with successful outcome after crossing with Tornus. Then the most important, in 2009, this Corsair catheter, it came into the India. This most important is, this is the design of the Corsair. It is a tungsten braid with 10 elliptical stainless steel braids with Shinka shaft. And most important, excellent pushability and flexibility due to its unique construction. Not only it is important for the support, it is useful for wire exchange and contrast injection. It is superb maneuverability due to excellent hydrophilic coating, and it is a kink resistant also with a soft opaque taper tip. It is available with 135-150 centimeters length, and the tapered soft tip provides extreme tip flexibility. As you can see how it is flexible, even 90 degrees also in tortuous micro channels, basically designed to cross the collaterals basically. And because of the Shinka shaft, 8 thinner wires in the cross section you can see, and 2 thicker wires which is braided, and this provides superior pushability and dragability and supports crossing small tortuous channels. And this is the various features, how it from 2.6 French it will taper to the 2.1 French. And these are the in brief, it increases the trackability with of Corsair due to removal of the distal pattern. Of course, Corsair Pro is advanced version of the Corsair with removal of the radiopaque marker, and it has a smooth transition from the tip to the marker, and increased flexibility and trackability, and new kink resistant proximal hub protector is also there with the smooth transition tip to shaft connection. And this is how it is seen in the fluoroscopy of radio marker. It is there in case of Corsair, and Corsair Pro that's were removed, and tungsten itself as a radio opaque marker it will function. Of course, this is the in vitro testing, how it will take the shape of the collateral and how it will maneuverable across the bends, and how the proximal hub it is kink resistant in case of Corsair Pro compared to the Corsair. And this is the removal radio marker in Corsair Pro compared to the Corsair. And this is a IJCTO study, how it is a kink resistant across the channel, and it will drag the wire without any prolapse of the wire. Of course, this is the one. which used a distal CTO segment of the RCA, and with the help of the side branch wire with the core set support. Initially the Gaia wire we tried and it was stuck in the subintima of the distal cap, then retrograded with the core set support, and ultimately it crossed into the distal segment of the RCA, and with the help of the reverse cut exteriors the wire and completed the angioplasty. This another wire, another technique where the RCA is associated with some micro channels as well as the long tortuous anatomy, and here you can demonstrate how the collaterals are through epicardial collaterals it is applying, and through the Cyan how the corsair, how it is tracking, you can see here in this one. The tortuous collateral, how the corsair is tracking, and ultimately we completed the procedure by means of combined anti and retrograde approach. Then comes to this Caravel. It is a versatile microcatheter that simplifies the complex angioplasty, and it will taper from 2.6 French to 1.4 French. It has a hydrophilic coating, and it is available 135 150 centimeters. And the features is it has a hydrophilic coating, and it is act on precision braided shaft. So, and it is compared with 0.014 wire, and it has benefits of increased device combination and excellent crossing profile with supreme trackability, and it is very useful in with a low profile shaft to cross the micro channels even more than the Corsair because of its sleek nature, and it even enhances the resistance to kink in the tortuous anatomy. We can compare actually with this competitor how it will pass through the lesion with the least resistance. And this is the design of a Caravel with a proximal to distal, the tapered one. And this was in 2012 actually, when 2014, sorry, when it introduced. And this is with the anchor balloon technology. This is instant ISR CTO with Gaia and Caravel support. Initially for preparation of anti-grade, when we are doing this anti-grade, ultimately it went to the distal true lumen and completed the procedure without any combined that retrograde strategy. And this is also complex RCA CTO with a long segment. Initially with Gaia and Caravel support, it was passed through the CTO segment, and it was found as distal cap in the subintima. Then initially switch over to the retrograde with the Caravel and a Cyan, and Cyan cross it to the distal RCA segment, and by means of reverse cut the procedure was completed, and a wire was exteriorized and complete the angioplasty. Then after the Caravel, then it came that Crusade, that is Kaneka, which is a multifunctional dual lumen microcatheter. Of course in Asahi it is Sasaki, it is also available, but we are not, it did not come to the India. Here the most important is two ports, the distal port as well as the side port. The distal port is a monorail port, the side port is the over the wire port. So it is also, it tapers from 2.9 French to the 2.2 French, and this is very useful in CTO for that Crusade assisted parallel wire, as well as to protect the side branch beyond the CTO segment. This catheter is dedicatedly used, and it is a dual lumen. 1 mm distal idiopathic marker is there, and 0.5 mm exit port marker, and most important working length is 140 centimeters, and it has a flexible distal shaft and sturdy proximal shaft. The benefits are, it is excellent backup support when it is wiring to the CTO, especially when proximal side branch is there. You can thread the monorail over the side branch, and then you can through the side port you can penetrate the CTO proximal cap, and it has a smooth tracking, and because of double layer lumen it allows more flexible guide wire movement, and it has a efficient wiring of stent studs, and it prevents the wires to be woven when we are using parallel wire technique. And of course, this is mistakenly this one. Actually, this should be here, and the side port we can use this one to penetrate the proximal cap. Of course, for other uses are for side branch tracking, as well as across distances it can be useful. So this is the instant LED CTO with a thick fibrous cap. Initially through side branch, we put the crusade from we are penetrating the proximal cap. It already passed, but the second wire, it has stuck in the subintima. Then initially we removed this one, and again we threaded over the wire, and then with the help of this one crusade, again second wire will ultimately crossed and penetrated the distal cap and succeeded the CTO angioplasty. So with this availability of these microcatheters, which ultimately improve the success rate very efficiently, and this is the second part in successful, we should have a understanding on function and especially design in which CTO we have to use, and we use various techniques and ultimately with successful outcome of CT angioplasty. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kapalvi. Like the efficient crusade catheter completed in time efficiently. So this session is open for discussion after this. Okay. First of all, I'm very happy that our brainchild of IJCTO finishing the 5 years with excellent cooperation from all the course directors. The excellent job done by Dr. Ganesh. In spite of the so many logistic issues, this year. I congratulate him first. So anybody will use the simple technique first, single wire strategy with the contralateral injection. This is a standard technique in any CTO PCI. Sometimes it's not easy to so the properties of guide wires I'm not going to discuss. Already Dr. Dash has elaborated in detail. But when you are choosing the wire, you should have the right wire, as Dr. So, most important thing, this also Dr. Kapati has discussed, every wire in the CTO, a real top CTO, I rarely use a wire only to penetrate the proximal segment, very rarely, because it guides the wire appropriately to the proximal cap. That's why a microcatheter of your choice, depending upon the proximal segment, whether you use a fine cross catheter or a cochlear catheter or you use a dual lumen catheter. That's depending upon the anatomy and the choice of the operator. But it's always ideal to use a multifunction catheter. And the crusade catheter nowadays is very useful to give support and to have access to the side branch. The advantages of crusade catheter has been elaborated already. So this is Sasuke catheter, only the difference is the length between the distal two ports, and it's a more flexible catheter. It's not available with us, but we happen to work on it with some samples given by our Japanese colleagues. And the parallel wire technique mainly either use without the microcatheter or use with the microcatheter. Both ways you can use. If you use with the support catheter, you can get the wire guide wire entanglement, which is very important. You can avoid that. And the penetration power is more. And you can reshape always the microcatheter, use the micro to reshape the wire tip, advance the second wire into the long CTO lesion. So this is the advantage if you use with the microcatheter. This is standard diagram, that first one is in the false lumen, you automatically, if there is no space, the second wire follows it to the true brain is one of the principle. So, this is the standard classical parallel wire. This is a classical parallel wire. The first one is in the false lumen, and we use the. So next wire, what you are using, usually more stiffer than the first wire. This is a very simple technique, and any new operator, I believe, they should start with simple techniques like a parallel wire technique. If you are in the false lumen, it's very safe if you are careful, and you can give control always with the contralateral injections. Where the wire in the distal lumen. This is important. So this is a seesaw technique. We rarely use this technique nowadays. You should have two microcatheters, and with the two microcatheters you should have the wires, and you can change the wires also, and it's a try and error method where you can enter the true lumen. But this technique is not regularly used. Some of the cases in the past, maybe 7-8 years back, this case I have done with the technique, and always give the contralateral injection when you are doing it. This is a parallel knuckle wire technique. Actually, I haven't heard of it, but it happened when you are doing the more number of volume. It happened, I got the wire in the false lumen, in the parallel wire, and I used the second wire as a knuckle and entered the distal true lumen. This is my own thing, I haven't heard anywhere, but I have done couple of cases like this with a parallel knuckle wire. Knuckle wire is relatively safer than a stiff wire with a bend penetrating, making a re-entry. That's why this is a parallel knuckle wire technique. Most important thing is, it should not be always a parallel thing. A side branch always utilized as an advantage. They say a side branch is a disadvantage. I always feel a side branch at the distal end as an advantage, because in this case you feel the wire in the false lumen, but I utilize the side branch and I pass the wire into the side branch distal to the lesion, and I have done a block modification, and then automatically I could cause this the initial days of the Gaia wire in India, so we could finish the case with the anchor, good support on the side branch, and a Gaia wire crossing the true lumen and the LED. This is done with the double wire catheter. You see, if you have a good septal branch in the LED or the diagonal branch, you can always utilize. It's very safe always to use a double lumen catheter with a parallel wire technique. This has been already discussed. Sometimes you may fail in the parallel type. This is one of the live demonstration case doing. I had this problem. Both the wires in the false lumen. So sometimes you have to do some innovative techniques, even though it is not advisable, but it is prescribed, and a very little quantity of contrast with a fine cross catheter. A contrast induced redirection of the wire. I have done in this case and finished the case. But I don't advise for the beginners to do this procedure. It's not that safe. So you always remember, when using parallel wire, the hydrophilic wires tend to slip into the false lumen. The stiff wire should not be parked too distal, they may cause perforation. The second wire parallel should be preferred more stiff than the first one, and new set of wires are bound to success of CTO PCA. Then my second thing is how use the IJCTO PCA. Yes, there is a lot of data coming on, and I don't think, except few Japanese operators, nobody really perfectly on the live with a IVAS guided puncture of the proximal cap. A lot of things we talk, but I learned by doing cases some techniques which are practically useful. For basically, you should understand that the intimal block tracking is always key to success, and IVAS should know best entry point for dedicated re-entry. The anatomy of the thing, the morphology of the lesion, the vessel diameter, these two things are very important. not to have complications. IVAS will guide you when you are puncturing the proximal cap. In the retrograde approach, also the wire's position you should know with the IVAS. So you will never enter into false lumen, false in the left main and have a catastrophe. That's why IVAS is very useful. This is standard diagram. You keep the IVAS in the side branch, and you can always use a microcatheter. This needs a 8 French ideally, not to have too much friction, and you can puncture with the IVAS guided in the side branch with the microcatheter support. So the basic understanding you should have that the intimal plaque, you should be always near to the intima and not into the subintimal space. That's the most important thing when you are puncturing that. These are the things which are very important, that you should be close to the intimal plaque. And how to use this IVAS guide crossing technique is sometimes it's difficult for the IVAS catheter unless it's a very low profile level navic focus of the thermo. Other catheters are difficult to negotiate. So you can enlarge safely with a 1.5 millimeter balloon along the guide wire and advance into subintimal space. The stiff guide wire can be advanced the toolman. So this is the ideal way to do a IVAS guide if you can put in the subintimal space. Choosing the catheter, there are a number of catheters available, but the Volcano and the Navifocus both are, but recently Volcano also, they upgraded the catheters, the tip to transducer length coming down and becoming low profile. It's the Navifocus, the ideal catheter for the Japanese, but is not available with us, and it's 9 millimeter the tip to transducer distance, and the 40 megahertz is ideal for the CTO operation, very important. You should know wire and the calcium, you should be able to discriminate, you should be able to discriminate the true lumen and the false lumen correctly. So you show the difference between the 20 megahertz and 40 megahertz, how the true and false lumen look. So this is one way how you track it. You see this IVAS catheter in the side branch, and you are pulling the IVAS from the side branch to the main vessel, and you find the probing the second wire. It is very close to the, it is not near to the intima. This high risk of subintimal tracking here. So if you again re-advance looking at the IVAS live, then the shifting of the guide wire to the near to the inner side of the intimal plaque tracking, that is very, very safe. So this way you should be able to do. So this is one case done like that. If you have a LED and septal, you are a diagonal, you can pass the IVAS catheter, and the IVAS guided crossing can be done. This is really safe. So this is one case where we have done in a live demonstration. This case RCA. This is RCA. Take advantage of the Kurus artery, and you can put the IVAS catheter and slowly withdraw. You can see at the 11 o'clock position the proximal cap. Ideally, you should have 8 French to have both, and the puncture, it's easy. So the real time is down, but the fixed frame is in the up. And after that, safely you can have the wire in the true lumen, and this is the end result with this. So as I said, 8 French mandatory to have IVAS and fine cross together is important. Another important thing is you take a side branch as a landmark. How do you puncture with the wire, retrograde wire? The positional relation, you have a RV branch. RV branch comes from the true lumen. So the away is the false lumen. When you are directing towards the RV branch, then most likely you are close to the true lumen. That's one advantage you can take. So vascular structures is another aspect you should take. So close to the intimal plaque, second is the vascular structure. These things. Another important thing is the rotational angiography. This appears very complex, but you move from the cranial end to the caudal ends when both the radiopaque marker of the IVUS catheter proximal marker and the wire coincides, where that is the point where you can search for the proximal gap. It's technically difficult. I also never done this technique, but I just learned from some of the Japanese. If you see, another thing is, your IVUS catheter here is in the proximal true lumen. Then when you go into the subintimal space, in the distal part is in the subintimal space. So while pulling up, you have to choose, you have to rewire at the place where you can enter the intimal plaque. So you have to, ideally, if you can create a 3-dimension, there are systems which can create a angiographic and IVUS picture superimposed and guide you. But this is another technique where rewiring can be done looking at the IVUS when you are coming from down to proximal end. So the points we have to remember that the correct understanding of the true lumen, false lumen, intimal plaque, subintimal space, very important. And if you have a CT information along with IVUS, it is more useful. Thank you.
Any questions? No. One more. We can next talk is. I know, next talk is there. At the end of this one, we have discussion. Dr. Prakash Veerparik regarding tips and tricks to stay intralumen. 5 topics. 5 topics are there. At the end, discussion is there.
Good afternoon, friends. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Ganesh Kumar for inviting me for this nice congress. Many of the points which I'm going to discuss have been covered by the previous speakers, so I'll skip some of the slides. The integrated approach, the goal is intimal wiring. However, frequently wire enters subintimal space, and then it is very difficult to enter intima from subintimal space. So we should have maximum efforts from the beginning so that wire goes in intimal space from the beginning. So how to ensure intimal wiring from beginning? If wire goes in subintimal space, how do you detect it? And if it goes in subintimal space, how can you correct it and redirect again in intimal space? So the accurate understanding of CTO anatomy is of utmost importance to stay intralumen. And second is technique of guide wire manipulation. So define CTO anatomy correctly before you start the procedure. Identify entry and exit point. Define the CTO course between the entry and exit point. It is very important to visualize distal lumen beyond CTO. You should not attempt CTO if you cannot see the distal vessel. This has been discussed already previously in details, so I will not go in details. But it's very important to define CTO anatomy before you start the procedure. If you do not correctly understand the CTO anatomy, then you probably fail the procedure very easily. The bilateral simultaneous angiograms are very, very important.
Discussion.
Always use unless absolutely there are no correlators from any source. This is essential even if anterior correlators appear satisfactory or vessel looks easy to cross. Because sometimes once you start integrated approach and once your wires and microcatheters are inside the proximal vessel, then it's difficult to see the distal vessel anteriorly, which you were able to see before the procedure. And always obtain bilateral injection before you start wiring. And during the procedure, time to time, timely contact injections are essential to understand the course of wiring. And for this, biplane catheter is preferred. The technique of guide wire manipulation, some basics: how to shape CTO guide wires, selection of appropriate guide wires, how to improve wire maneuverability, and fundamentals of wire handling. This everybody knows. In the CTO region, the lumen diameter is actually 0. So for the CTO region, the guide wire tip curve should be near 0. The last curve will be difficult to manipulate inside the CTO segment and is more likely to damage the vessel wall and go in suboptimal tract. Shape of the wire, standard shape is double shape. The distal shape should be as short as possible, so it helps to find the softest portion in the CTO lesion, and you can easily track the loose tissue in the CTO lesion. The second band helps to navigate the tip of the wire near the CTO lesion and helps it to get coaxial with the vessel anatomy. So this is the shaping of the wires. Selection of wire for anterior approach. This also been discussed previously, but to highlight some of the points, when the microchannels are present, always start with the soft, tapered, polymeric, hydrophilic coated wires like Fielder XT series or Gaia First wires. And when the microchannels are absent and is likely abrupt stump, start with the stiffer wires like Gaia Second or Third or Miracle or Conquest series. Selection of wires should be according to lesion characteristics. When the CTO lesion is curved, angulated, and long lesion, then you should prefer Gaia or Miracle series. When the CTO route is well defined, then use Gaia series. When CTO route is not clear, then it is preferable to use the Miracle series of wires, particularly Ultimate Bro 3 wires. Similarly, when the CTO is very short, hard, and less angulated, Conquest Pro series are very useful because then finish the process very fast when you clear target. So it is generally safer to start with the soft wires because it is less likely to go in suboptimal space, so you are more likely to be in intimal space. And in soft wire space, of course, you have to step up to intermediate to very stiff wires depending on the CTO anatomy and lesion characteristics. Another is approach also discussed previously. If you are long CTO lesion, so after penetration of the hard calcium plaque with the stiff wires, it is always better to step down the wire to load. If you continue with the very stiff wires throughout the long CTO lesion, it is very likely that you will go in suboptimal space and create a false cement. It is very important a good wire maneuverability. So how can you improve the wire maneuverability? If there are tortuous iliac or aortic arteries, use long femoral sheaths, or you can switch out to radial approach. Similarly, if there is a tortuous coronary artery proximal to CTO, always use microcatheter. And in addition, you can use additional extracorporeal wire to straighten out the proximal tortuous coronary artery. The microcatheters reduce the risk of wire entering into subintimal space by stabilizing the wire, so they should be always used during the CTO procedures, in addition to have several other advantages of microcatheters. So fundamentals of wire handling are rotation, pushing and pulling. Rotation decreases frictional resistance, so wire will advance easily. So how to advance the wiring toolman? For anterior approach, we should rely on two simple signals, tactile signals and visual signals. So what are the tactile signals? They are the finger fillings from the wire tip in CTO PCI. To discuss the most common finger fillings are the filling of dimple at proximal cap, filling of strong resistance, filling of no resistance, and filling of crunching sensation. Filling of dimple is the hallmark of entry point in abrupt type of CTO lesions and is the key to success. If you can find a dimple is at CTO entry point, and if your wire engages in the dimple, then can rotate it clockwise and counterclockwise to penetrate successfully in the proximal cap. Second is filling of strong resistance on withdrawal. Filling of strong resistance when pulling back wire inside the CTO body, such as when the guiding catheter is drawn inside and you are filling of that wire is trapped inside the CTO, it generally indicates that wire is migrated in subintima. Similarly, filling of no resistance. When the wire moves very freely distal to the CTO or inside the CTO, it is likely that wire is either in true lumen or in extravascular space. If it is in true lumen, wire can be easily advanced and detected and can easily go into distal end of the vessel. While if it is extravascular space, wire tip will move here and there and never in the exact same direction. It is a sign of wire exit. So you should withdraw the wire and find out the point of exit and start wiring again. Similarly, feeling of crunching sensation in the wire tip, it generally indicates that the wire is in intima. Of course, it is very hard to feel with this sensation with the very stiff wires. With anything more than medical 6 gram wires, it's very difficult to feel this sensation. Similarly, with the tapered tip wires and polymer jacket wires, it's difficult to appreciate this sensation. So the tactile feedback is very important, but sensitivity to touch becomes less and less as the wire becomes harder and the polymer jacket wires. It is best felt with the non-tapered spring coil wires like medical series wires. And it is very important to recognize that if a wire is in large force domain, then you will not be able to appreciate these tactile sensations. Second most important signals when you are aiming for the intimate tracking is visual signals. Visual signals are more reliable than tactile signals. You should always confirm the wire tip position from different orthogonal angiographic positions during your position very frequently. Another important thing is deformation of the wire tip and sigmoid cosine. So what is the deformation of wire tip? When wire goes in subintimal while advancing, it will deform that shape of tip of the wire shape. So it occurs very easily with the soft tip wires like filter XT series wires or Gaia wires. So when you see the wire tip is deformed, that means you are not in the right direction. It is very difficult to appreciate with the stiff wires, because stiff wires, they don't deflect too much and they generally advance straight in the CTO segment. Sigmoid cosine, it is also very useful to detect the subintimal tracking. If wire is running in a sigmoid shaped curve with the same width as the vessel diameter, then you should suspect the subintimal tracking. As you can appreciate here, on the right side, the wire goes in subintimal space, again goes towards the other wall of the artery. So when the wire takes this shape during intimal wiring, it indicates that wire is in subintimal space. Wire interlink at proximal cap is very important. When it's tapered above empty, you can easily enter in the correct space, intimal space. But when it's abrupt type of entry, it's very difficult. Looking for the dimple sign is one of the hallmark of the entry point. And wire often enters in the first one from abrupt type of proximal cap. So always take a lot of precautions when you are handling this kind of proximal cap, where wire can easily go in the false band if you manipulate the wire very aggressively. Another abrupt type of CTO, when you have side branch proximal to the CTO, then based on the IVUS data, you know that the plaques are distributed mainly on the side branch opposite to the side branch. So you know where you have to penetrate. So your penetration size to be narrowed to the commencement of side branch, where there less likely to be strong, hard plaque. If proximal cap is ambiguous, then side branch IVUS is extremely useful, provided you have a reasonable size of side branch. It helps to find out the CTO entry point and confirm the point of entry of wire. So how to manipulate different types of CTO wires? Just to summarize, filter XT series wire which generally just gently rotate 1 or 2 times clockwise, counterclockwise is a sliding technique, and advance it by using a force that doesn't distort the curve of the wire tip. But the miracle series wire is a control drilling. It is actually not drilling, but it is slipping or sneaking inside the CTO lesion. Here the important tip is, if you cannot advance the wire, don't push it too hard, but rather you switch to stiffer wires. Then you can easily go integrally. If you push too hard, then you will easily go into subintimal space. With the Gaia wires is intentional control for deflection. So first determine the direction of advancement. Advance without rotation. When the wire is stopped by the hard plaque, it easily deflects in the subintimal space with deformation of tip. So even the slightest deformation should be interpreted as that wire is migrated in subintimal space while using Gaia wires. When it is deformed, we withdraw it a little bit and advance in different direction. So with the Gaia wires provides visual signal rather than tactile signals. So don't rely only on tactile feedback while using Gaia wires. Continuous pores wires are very stiff fast, they behave like needles. So they are best reserved for situation when the vessel pathway and distal target is clear or well understood. It should be used only for short distance. You should not use continuous pore wires if you want intimal tracking in long tortuous CTOs, and when the CTO cause is unclear or unpredictable. Always determine the direction of advancement and advance with minimal rotation. And don't trust in a tip field, trust only in what you can see when you use concrete through wires. Another important is wire handling curves. When you are advancing wire in angulated CTO segment, wire has a tendency to follow the outer part of the curve and penetrate subintimally. So when you are dealing with the angular segment, always aim on wire towards the inner curve of the vessel, then you are less likely to go subintimal. It is very almost inevitable that when you are handling the difficult long CTOs, the first wire most likely will go in subintimal space. So it is not necessary to be alarmed when your first wire goes in subintimal space. So you should not make excessive efforts to cross CTO in a single attempt. But the important thing is they realize that your wire is in subintimal space as soon as possible. Because if you realize early, you can easily correct it and enter the intimal space. Once you are in subintimal space, don't advance wire further, don't rotate further. If you continue to rotate and advance, you will enlarge the false segment further. And how to enter intima? If your wire is in subintima space, you identified that you are in subintima, then how to enter the intima again? So if this happens at the proximal cap, simplest thing is to withdraw the wire and attempt rewiring from different direction. And if it happens in mid segment of CTO or at the distal cap CTO, use parallel wire technique and Abbas guide technique, which has been discussed before. The important point of parallel wire technique is use it as early as possible. Have a low threshold before you make a false segment very big. And if this happens near the distal cap of the CTO, and if you enlarge the false segment, you will not be able to see distal vessel. And if you don't see distal vessel, you cannot use parallel wire technique. Coaxial Abbas guide technique is very difficult technically. This is bailout option when parallel wire technique fails and when distal vessel recharge is lost. So the technique of wiring, the last slide, always continuously assess the tactile feedback with advancement and detection. Repeated wire withdrawal for 1 to 2 mm necessary to confirm that the wire is in advanced tool lumen. Don't rely only on tactile feedback. You should not continue to advance without checking wire position in two different orthogonal views. Do not manipulate wire extensively beyond distal cap, otherwise distal vessel visuality will be lost. And do not advance wire beyond distal cap by maximum 2 to 3 mm if you are in false segment. And use parallel wire as an early easy bailout. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parekh.
Questions, discussion.
Now the session is open for discussion. Any questions?
IJCTO
score. Is there an algorithm available in online like syntax score?
It is available. Each given one point.
IJCTO
actually.
score is not very difficult. Syntax score needs online calculations. This doesn't need.
Each one
the
point.
5 things
Proximal
there.
cap, one length of the
Only 5
CTO,
things
calcium.
you put it and say it is 1, 2,
Tortuosity.
3 or 4 points.
Retry is added, so
5
5
points.
points.
So from your vast experience of CTO PCI, can you give us tips on which microcatheter to be selected depending upon the lesion?
Actually, this is only depending upon your, just like a workhorse wire. Depending upon your experience, if you are more familiar with the fine cross, we have seen like that. But only the advantage with Corsair compared to the fine cross is once the wire was crossed, it is difficult for the fine cross to cross without any some anchor balloon or guide support. Whereas for Corsair, because of its a taper tip, you can penetrate across the CTO segment and you can exchange the wire. And another thing is, if the two proximal CTO or with a bend is there, because of the sleeky nature, the fine cross or caravel is better than a Corsair, because the Corsair is more bulkier compared to the fine cross and caravel. So it is only depending upon your familiarity of workhorse nature, whether you are familiar with fine cross or familiar with Corsair. Second one is depending upon the bends and the proximity of the CTO segment to the guiding catheter, you can choose the whether it is a bulky catheter. Suppose the mid segment, more space is there, then you can take the Corsair, which can go up to the mid segment, then you can cross. Suppose if it is too proximal and some bend is there, then you can take the sleek catheter like fine cross.
It's a hardcore CTO, I prefer a Corsair catheter for better support. And if you get a side branch, you can use the Corsair catheter. More simpler regions, I think.
Sir, one of the points which I thought we should emphasize is coaxiality between guide catheter, micro catheter and the wire.
Correct.
Otherwise, as what Dr. Parikh showed one slide where sigmoid shape curve entry.
Yes, yes.
Correct.
Then right at the entry point you would.
Exactly, you are correct. Actually, it happened in the initial days that the wire will create a extravasation,
Yeah.
you will get worried and stop the procedure.
So-
That's why what we do is we take a floppy wire, enter it to the proximal cap, and we take the support catheter there and exchange the wire to your workhorse wire.
Yeah, but
That
that
is-
is easy if the lesion is a bit soft where it holds your wire. But otherwise it floppies down and then it takes a bend, so you can't push your micro catheter right up to that.
Correct.
But it's very important because halfway through you will find that you are not coaxial, repeatedly going into false lumen, or you are not getting the sufficient support to cross the wire or cross the balloon, and so many points. So that also is very important before you take this selection.
Actually, for this, what I practice is, as he said, principally you have to reach the proximal end of the CTO with the microcatheter and a regular wire, floppy wire. You will not use the CTO wire. Once you sit in the proximal end of the CTO, then whatever wires you're going to use, you're going to use. The choice between fine cross and Corsair. Well, I prefer fine cross for antegrade procedures, and I'll tell you two reasons. One is the fine cross is lower profile, so when you are going distally into a tapered segment, so bigger profile catheter, and sometimes what happens is there is flow from there itself distally. So the micro catheter itself blocks the antegrade flow, so you don't see anything distally, the antegrade part, whatever was there. And the Corsair is radio opaque all through. It has a radio opaque marker, but it is very dark, and it is, so your visualization of proximal vessels also sometimes becomes not so good. Fine cross is transparent, means translucent.
Only
Only
radio
the
opaque marker that
yes.
is there.
So I always find fine cross to be a better for antegrade procedures. Yeah.
Nowadays, as you say, you have Corsair Pro, so that radio opacity is removed. So with that, I think you can track it.
But not available in India actually. It is not using.
Entering the proximal cap, there was one device which was available more than 15 years ago from Bolton. It was a balloon which was only 1.5 millimeter in length, and it will blow up to 2.5 centimeter diameter. It was over the wire balloon. It will always track the wire right in the middle of the proximal cap. I don't know why that balloon lost, and
No, the basic difference between microcatheter and over the wire balloon is the maneuverability of the wire in microcatheter is well preserved compared to the over the wire balloon, and it becomes difficult to manipulate and control on the wire in case of over the wire balloon.
And trackability is
In
more.
CTO.
Trackability is also more with Corsair and other things.
Yes.
this balloon was specifically designed to enter the proximal cap, and it made it very easy. It was available in 90s. I don't know why we lost it. I don't know.
The fundamental difference.
One announcement, we're giving 10 minutes coffee break. Those who are intending to have coffee, they can have.
The fundamental difference, those who are familiar with the CTO operators is,
when you compare the over the wire balloon with the wire maneuverability inside the OTW balloon and this one, now natural, once the microcatheter become familiar, they become extinct.
As actually Kapati told, the microcatheter will help you actually more trackability of the wire rather than.
I use microcatheter and crosshair both. What I am saying, to enter the proximal cap, this balloon was specific, it is not like any over the wire balloon. It is not over the wire balloon. It was a balloon which was specifically designed to enter the proximal cap of a CTO.
What was the balloon? What was the balloon?
It was from Bolton Medical, a company called Bolton
This
Medical.
is like
We
a-
lost that balloon.
This
It was-
is like a centering balloon. There is a system of a centering balloon which keeps your microcatheter in the center coaxial to the artery, so you will reach there. But right now there is a new device that is available which is a centering balloon system. So, which is not with us, but I have seen it in one of the recent meetings somewhere. It is a centering system. So that is a part of the support systems. So something like that could be there.
So if no further questions, we'll close the session.
After 10 minutes or?
10 minutes
10
coffee
minutes.
break
10
is there. Okay.